The Notre Dame NBC era. In 1991, Notre Dame did something no one else in college football had done. They signed an exclusive national TV deal with NBC. That single move changed how college football was marketed, consumed, and broadcast forever. At the time, Notre Dame was a top-tier brand with national appeal. This deal made it official. Every home game was on NBC. And suddenly, the Irish weren't just a Midwest team. They were America's team, coast to coast. The timing was golden. Lou Holtz had just led Notre Dame to a national title in 1988, and the program was still elite. Players like Rahib Rocket Ismail, Brady Quinn, Manti Te'o, and later Jalen Smith helped keep the Irish in the spotlight, even when the wins weren't always there. The NBC deal gave Notre Dame independence from conference obligations, meaning they could build a national schedule. Michigan, USC, Stanford, Navy, you name it. And with NBC's reach, recruiting exploded. Every game was a commercial for the school. But the exclusivity was a double-edged sword. As conferences began building their own networks, Big Ten Network, SEC Network, ACC Network, Notre Dame stood alone. That independence often sparked playoff debates. In 2018 and 2020, they made the CFP, only to get blown out, reigniting the join-a-conference talk. Still, no school has benefited from media exposure quite like Notre Dame. That leprechaun logo, it's a brand. The NBC deal gave them power, visibility, and leverage, and they've never looked back. The future? Still TBD. With the playoff expanding and conferences realigning, Notre Dame's independence is again under the microscope. But for 3 decades, the Irish proved you didn't need a league, just a network and a national following. The Pac-12 After Dark era. Let's be honest, nothing quite matched the chaos and caffeine of Pac-12 After Dark. Starting in the early 2010s, when the rest of the country was calling it a night, the Pac-12 was just getting weird. Late night kickoffs? Check. Wild upsets? Every week. Missed extra points, overtime madness, fog rolling in from the Bay. It was all part of the brand. This era featured some legit programs too. Oregon under Chip Kelly and later Mark Helfrich became a national contender, reaching the national title game in 2010 and again in 2014 behind Marcus Mariota, who threw for 42 touchdowns in his Heisman season. Stanford countered with physical football under Jim Harbaugh and David Shaw, producing stars like Andrew Luck, Christian McCaffrey, and a string of Rose Bowl trips. Meanwhile, USC tried to regain its footing post-Carroll. The 2016 Rose Bowl with Sam Darnold was a classic, a 52-49 thriller over Penn State. Washington even made the college football playoff in 2016, falling to Alabama. But the real appeal? The late-night lunacy. Think Arizona beating number 2 Oregon, Wazoo dropping 60, or a 9:30 p.m. kickoff ending with a missed game-winning field goal at 1:15 a.m. Twitter loved it. Fans couldn't look away. Still, Pac-12 After Dark was a double-edged sword. While entertaining, it also kept the league out of primetime. East Coast voters and playoff committees rarely stayed up to watch. Add in inconsistent success and poor leadership, and the conference lost national relevance. Now, with realignment tearing the Pac-12 apart, the era is likely ending. But for a glorious stretch, those late-night windows were where college football got its weirdest, and maybe its best. The Barry Switzer and Oklahoma dominance era. When Barry Switzer took over at Oklahoma in 1973, he didn't just maintain the Sooners' success, he built a juggernaut. Switzer's Oklahoma teams from 1973 to 1988 were fast, physical, and fearless, powered by the wishbone and dripping with confidence. Let's talk dominance. In his first 12 seasons, Switzer went 117-19-3 and won 3 national championships, 1974, 1975, and 1985. From 1973 to 1975, the Sooners went 28-0-1. They were practically unbeatable. The offense was the wishbone perfected, with players like Billy Sims, the 1978 Heisman winner who rushed for over 1,700 yards, and CJ Watts, a dual-threat QB before that was cool. Oklahoma ran for over 350 yards per game some seasons. Their defenses were nasty too. Quick, aggressive, and turnover-hungry. Switzer recruited nationally, built a talent machine, and made Norman the epicenter of college football in the 70s and early 80s. But it wasn't all clean. The Switzer era was also known for its off-field issues. NCAA investigations, player misconduct, and tension with university leadership. Still, on the field, Oklahoma was a powerhouse. In 1985, the Sooners capped a dominant season with a 25-10 win over Penn State to claim another national title. Led by freshman QB Jamel Holloway after starter Troy Aikman was injured mid-season. Switzer's charisma made him beloved in Oklahoma and hated by everyone else. He coached with swagger, wore it on his sleeve, and didn't care what anyone thought. His departure in 1988 marked the end of a wild but legendary era. The Sooners would struggle to regain that level of dominance until Bob Stoops arrived a decade later. But the Switzer years? Pure college football chaos and excellence. The Civil Rights and Integration era. College football didn't just evolve on the field, it evolved in the locker room. The Civil Rights and Integration era of the 1960s and 70s changed the sport forever. Before then, most major programs, especially in the South, were still segregated. But all that started to shift, slowly, then suddenly. In 1966, Jerry Levias became the first black scholarship football player in the Southwest Conference, suiting up for SMU. He took brutal hits, faced constant racism, and still balled out, averaging 21.4 yards per reception in 1968. Meanwhile, in the SEC, it was Nate Northington who broke the color barrier in 1967 at Kentucky. He played one game, just 3 minutes, but it cracked the wall. Soon after, Wilbur Hackett and Houston Hogg joined him, paving the way for full integration in the conference. One of the most powerful moments came in 1970, when USC played Alabama in Birmingham. USC, with a fully integrated roster including future Heisman winner Sam Cunningham, crushed the all-white Tide 42-21. That game was a wake-up call. Alabama head coach Bear Bryant knew to keep winning, he needed to recruit black athletes. From there, it spread. Florida, LSU, Ole Miss, one by one SEC schools finally integrated. Tony Dungy starred at Minnesota. Archie Griffin broke records at Ohio State. And by the late 70s, black athletes were changing the game with speed, versatility, and depth never seen before. This era wasn't just about wins. It was about progress, and it came with resistance. But the players who broke those barriers laid the foundation for the game we love today. From Cunningham to Levias to Northington, they didn't just play football, they reshaped it. The NIL transfer portal era. Welcome to the Wild West, the NIL and transfer portal era. Starting in 2021, the entire college football system changed overnight. For the first time ever, players could legally profit off their name, image, and likeness. Add in a free-for-all transfer portal, you've got chaos and opportunity. Let's talk NIL first. Within months, players were signing six-figure endorsement deals. Bryce Young reportedly made over $1 million in NIL money before he ever started a game at Alabama. Caleb Williams landed deals with Beats, Fanatics, and Dr. Pepper. Even offensive linemen at places like Arkansas got barbecue joint sponsorships. Then came the transfer portal explosion. Players no longer had to sit out a year after switching schools. Suddenly, roster building looked like NFL free agency. Joe Burrow transferred from Ohio State to LSU and won a Heisman and national title. In 2022, USC landed Caleb Williams and Jordan Addison in one offseason. In 2023, Colorado and Deion Sanders flipped over 80% of their roster in a single year. Critics say it's out of control. Tampering, bidding wars, lack of loyalty. Others say it's overdue. For years, coaches jumped ship freely while players were locked in. Now the power's more balanced. Recruiting has completely shifted. Boosters fund NIL collectives. High school stars make business decisions. And coaches? They're navigating year-round roster churn like never before. Love it or hate it, the NIL portal era is here to stay. The game may never look the same, but one thing's for sure. The players are finally eating, and the stakes have never been higher. The Boise State Giant Killer era. For a glorious stretch of the late 2000s, one team from Idaho became every fan's favorite Cinderella, and every power program's worst nightmare. Enter Boise State, the Giant Killers. It all started with the 2007 Fiesta Bowl. Boise State, a WAC school with zero national pedigree, took on mighty Oklahoma and shocked the world. The Broncos executed a hook and lateral, a halfback pass, and the legendary Statue of Liberty play, all in the same game. They won 43-42 in overtime, and Ian Johnson proposed to his girlfriend on live TV. It was college football magic. But that wasn't a one-off. From 2006 to 2011, Boise State went 73-6, including undefeated seasons in 2006 and 2009. Under head coach Chris Peterson, the Broncos became a model of player development, discipline, and creativity. Quarterback Kellen Moore finished his career with a 50-3 record, the most wins by a QB in FBS history at the time. The team's blue turf became iconic, and their non-conference dominance, like beating Georgia and Virginia Tech, proved they weren't a fluke. Still, despite the wins, BCS gatekeeping kept Boise out of the national title conversation. In 2009, they went 14-0 and didn't get a shot at the championship. In 2010, a missed field goal against Nevada killed another perfect season. But the legacy remains. Boise showed that with smart coaching and fearless play calling, even the little guy could crash the big money party. They changed the way we viewed Group of 5 teams and made every underdog believe. The Clemson Rise era. Before 2015, Clemson was that almost program. Good, but not elite. Then came Dabo Swinney, a generational QB in Deshaun Watson and one of the fastest rises in modern college football history. The Clemson Rise era turned a sleepy Southern school into a certified dynasty. In 2015, Clemson went 14-0 before losing a thriller to Alabama in the national title game. But that was just the beginning. In 2016, Watson came back and got his revenge, leading the Tigers to a 35-31 win over Bama. Capped by a walk-off TD to Hunter Renfrow, Clemson had arrived. From 2015 to 2020, Clemson went 79-7, won 2 national championships, played in 4 national title games, and made 6 straight college football playoff appearances. Their average margin of victory in 2018? Nearly 32 points per game. The stars kept coming. After Watson, it was Trevor Lawrence who went 34-2 as a starter. In 2018, as a true freshman, he dismantled Alabama 44-16 in the CFP title game, the worst loss of Nick Saban's career. That Clemson team? Unstoppable. Travis Etienne, T. Higgins, Christian Wilkins, Isaiah Simmons, just stacked. The Tigers also became an NFL pipeline and recruiting powerhouse. They matched the SEC's size and speed, but kept a family vibe that Swinney preached nonstop. Love him or hate him, Dabo built something special. But by 2021, the magic slowed. Lawrence and Etienne left. Offensive struggles, assistant departures, and changing NIL dynamics created new challenges. Still, Clemson's 6-year run was as dominant as any program not named Alabama. For a moment, they weren't just contenders, they were the standard. And if you're asking who turned Clemsoning from a joke into a thread, that answer's easy. It's Dabo and the Death Valley dynasty. The Heisman Quarterback Boom. Once upon a time, the Heisman Trophy went to running backs, wide receivers, even defenders. But since the 2010s, it's been a QB-only club, dominated by playmakers putting up video game numbers and explosive offenses. It started with Cam Newton in 2010. 1 year, 1 player, 1 Heisman. Newton had 30 passing touchdowns, 20 rushing, and led Auburn to a title with 0 help. He redefined the modern dual-threat QB. Then came the Oklahoma run. Baker Mayfield 2017 and Kyler Murray 2018 won back-to-back Heismans running Lincoln Riley's air raid. Mayfield threw for 4,600 yards and 43 TDs, while Kyler added 1,000-plus rushing yards on top of 4,300 passing. These weren't just QBs, they were offenses by themselves. Joe Burrow in 2019 took it to another level. 5,671 passing yards, 60 touchdowns, an undefeated season, and the greatest college football offense ever at LSU. That title team averaged 48.4 points per game and steamrolled everyone. Then came Caleb Williams in 2022, the first true NIL-era Heisman winner. At USC, he threw for 4,500 yards, dazzled with off-script plays, and looked like Mahomes 2.0 in Lincoln Riley's system. NIL deals, national ads. This was the modern QB brand in full force. Since 2010, 13 of 14 Heisman winners have been quarterbacks, and it's no accident. Systems are built around them. Stats explode in spread offenses, and voters can't ignore 50 touchdown seasons. Running backs like Derrick Henry or defenders like Aiden Hutchinson might still make the ceremony, But unless they break records, it's the QB's award to lose. The era of the Heisman quarterback boom isn't slowing down. If anything, the 12-team playoff and NIL spotlight mean QBs will only get more chances to shine. So grab your popcorn. The stat padding isn't going anywhere. Conference realignment chaos. The conference realignment era has turned college football into a game of Monopoly. Only the rich survive, and nobody stays put for long. It started in the early 2010s. Nebraska left the Big 12 for the Big 10 in 2011. That same year, Colorado and Utah joined the Pac-12. Then, Texas A&M and Missouri bolted to the SEC in 2012. That was the warm-up act. Things exploded again in the 2020s. In 2021, Texas and Oklahoma shocked the sport by announcing a move to the SEC. Effective in 2024, the Big 12 scrambled, adding BYU, Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston to stay afloat. Then came the death blow to the Pac-12. In 2022, USC and UCLA announced a move to the Big 10, driven by massive TV deals. Soon after, Oregon and Washington joined them. The Conference of Champions? Gone. Left behind were schools like Cal, Stanford, Oregon State, and Washington State wondering what just happened. Realignment wasn't about geography. It was about TV money, playoff access, and survival. Schools chased broadcast deals, not rivalries. The result? A sport that now stretches from Rutgers to Los Angeles, and where regional identity has vanished. Even the ACC got caught up in the chaos. Florida State and Clemson made noise about leaving, and schools like SMU were added just to plug revenue gaps. What's next? A future of 2 or 3 super conferences, perhaps. A playoff dominated by Big 10 versus SEC. Rivalries like Bedlam and Civil War. Casualties of realignment. Love it or hate it, this era reshaped the entire sport. It's not college football as we know it. It's college football as a corporate enterprise. And the shifting isn't done yet. And now it's your turn. Drop a comment. Let us know what you think about the Eras series and if you have any suggestions for our next deep dive. If you enjoyed watching this video, click to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.